We all have that fantasy, like you buy a lottery ticket or you finally get that massive promotion at work and you just let yourself imagine what it actually feels like to hit it big.
Oh, absolutely. It's the ultimate dream.
Right. To reach that absolute summit of financial security where you can just exhale, look around and say, I never have to worry about money ever again.
Yeah, but what people don't realize is what happens when you reach that mountaintop.
Right.
You set up your massive multi-million-dollar camp, and then you just accidentally step right off the cliff.
Which is a remarkably long, steep drop.
It really is. And surprisingly, it is a drop that happens so much more frequently than we like to admit, especially to the people who seemingly have the whole world on a string.
Exactly. And that is why we are doing this deep dive today. I was reading this really fascinating piece recently. It's an April 2026 breakdown from BuzzFeed.
Oh, yeah, I read that one.
It's wild, right?
Uh,
It profiles 18 incredibly famous people who went from filthy rich to utterly, entirely flat broke.
Just zeroed out.
Completely. And the ways they managed to lose everything are honestly shocking.
It's a compelling read because it takes these larger-than-life figures, people we put on pedestals, and reduces them to a very grounded, incredibly stressful reality. A reality that fundamentally just revolves around math.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the mission of this deep dive isn't just to gawk at celebrities or read off a tabloid list of expensive mistakes.
Right, there's a bigger lesson here.
Exactly. We want to really uncover the anatomy of financial ruin. We're going to explore the psychological traps of what feels like infinite wealth, the unseen sinkholes of taxes and management, the sudden evaporation of cash flow, and ultimately how these stars pivoted to rebuild their lives.
And I think it's crucial to set this context right away. These extreme Hollywood stories actually serve as a massive magnifying glass for the very relatable financial blind spots we all have in our own lives.
Even if we don't have millions of dollars.
Right. The numbers on the bank statements are just bigger for them, but the human behaviors, the psychological traps, those are absolutely identical.
Well, to really understand how someone loses millions upon millions of dollars, we first have to look at the sheer, almost incomprehensible scale of how that money is spent when the well just feels endless.
The extravagant phase.
Yes, the extravagant phase. And nobody illustrates this quite like Nicolas Cage. He managed to blow through a $150 million fortune.
$150 million. That is just, it's hard to even picture.
Right. And the purchases aren't just lavish, they're theatrical. He wasn't just buying nice cars, he was buying castles. Plural.
Wait, multiple castles?
Multiple castles. He bought a burial tomb in New Orleans. He even bought a rare dinosaur skull.
A dinosaur skull.
Yeah.
Which is such a uniquely bizarre flex of wealth, but it perfectly highlights the problem.
It does, because eventually all of that wild spending culminated in massive foreclosures and a staggering $6.3 million property tax bill.
Just for the taxes.
Just the taxes. I was thinking about this, and the only way I can wrap my head around it is by looking at it like a video game. Acquiring this level of wealth early in life is like playing a video game with the infinite money cheat code turned on.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
You completely lose all concept of financial gravity. Because
Okay.
when you have $100 million, buying a dinosaur skull doesn't feel like a catastrophic decision. It just feels like a logical Tuesday afternoon activity.
What's fascinating here is the psychology of peak earning power. When an actor or an athlete hits their absolute stride, their income doesn't just grow, it explodes exponentially.
Right.
And, the human brain is wired to recognize patterns. So they look at their income and subconsciously assume the trajectory is a straight line upward into infinity. They completely fail to recognize that it's actually a bell curve.
They think, I made $20 million this year, so obviously $20 million is my new baseline forever.
Precisely. And when you assume your income will never dip, you totally ignore the mechanics of what you are actually buying.
Because you think you can always afford it.
Exactly. Take Mike Tyson. He becomes the youngest heavyweight champ in history at age 20, back in 1986. That meant he was handed unimaginable wealth incredibly fast.
Too fast, probably.
Oh, way too fast. And by his 2003 bankruptcy, he had purchased a 52-room mansion, luxury cars, and 3 Royal Bengal tigers.
The 3 of them.
3. Or look at Burt Reynolds. Massive career. Buys a private jet and a helicopter, and still acquires $10 million in debt, eventually filing for bankruptcy in 1996.
Because it's not just the purchase price, right? It's the upkeep.
Exactly. The trap is the ongoing maintenance. A Bengal tiger isn't a one-time purchase.
I mean, I would hope not.
Right. It requires a specialized enclosure, full-time handlers, exotic animal medical care, liability insurance, and literally thousands of pounds of raw meat.
That is insane.
And a castle requires groundskeepers, commercial-grade heating, and historic preservation. These aren't assets. They are massive recurring subscriptions that drain your liquidity.
Wow, recurring subscriptions. That is such a stark way to look at it.
But it's true. When the peak earning years naturally taper off, that compounding maintenance cost just eats you alive.
And speaking of things that eat you alive, you don't even need to buy a Bengal tiger to go broke.
Not at all.
Buying exotic animals is the flashy, cinematic way to lose it all. But the quiet killers are usually found in the paperwork. We have to talk about the unseen sinkholes taxes, the people managing the money, and outright betrayal.
This is where the story shifts from extravagant, visible spending to invisible administrative neglect.
And the ultimate creditor who always collects is the IRS. Willie Nelson had a legendary $16.7 million tax debt in 1990, where the IRS actually swooped in and seized his assets.
They don't mess around.
They really don't. Pamela Anderson built a $70 million net worth and lost it to a mix of tax debts, spending, and legal woes.
$70 million. Gone.
Gone. Tori Spelling owed $1.7 million in unpaid taxes right after her March 2024 divorce from Dean McDermott. Stephen Baldwin was hit with a $2 million debt and income tax evasion. Terry Polo owed $1 million to the IRS and credit cards. It is a massive recurring theme.
It really is. And it's because the mechanics of how these people get paid is fundamentally different from the average salaried worker.
How so?
Well, when you have a traditional W-2 job, your employer automatically withholds your taxes. You never even see that money. But actors and musicians operate as independent contractors. They are handed the gross amount.
So if they get a check for $1 million, it's actually just $1 million sitting in their checking account.
Yes. And it is entirely up to them to proactively carve out 40 to 50% of that and hide it from themselves for quarterly estimated taxes.
Which takes a lot of discipline.
A tremendous amount. If you don't have the discipline to do that and you spend the gross instead of the net, the compounding interest and penalties from the IRS will swallow a fortune whole.
But hold on, let me push back on this for a second.
Sure.
If you are Stephen Baldwin or Tori Spelling and you are making that kind of money, you aren't doing your own taxes on TurboTax.
Right.
You hire business managers. You hire accountants. So are these stars actually victims of predatory management, or is this just willful ignorance? Because, I mean, they pay people 10% of their income specifically to deal with the boring paperwork.
It is almost always a combination of both. But the root cause is the willful disconnect. Wealth requires constant active defense.
Active defense.
Yes, you cannot outsource your financial literacy completely. Many of these artists adopt a mindset where they believe their only job is to be the talent.
They just want to be creative.
Right. They hand over total blind control of their finances to business managers or family members without instituting any system of checks and balances.
They just sign the stack of papers put in front of them so they can get back to set.
Exactly. And outsourcing the administrative duties does not outsource the liability. If your accountant fails to file your returns, the IRS doesn't care that you were busy filming. They come after you. Or worse, the people you trust actively betray you. Cyndi Lauper had to file for bankruptcy in 1981 because her pre-fame band, Blue Angel, flopped, and her own manager sued her for $80,000.
Which is absolutely brutal when you're an unknown artist trying to break through.
It's devastating.
And it gets even darker. Look at Aaron Carter. He made it massive as a child pop star in the 90s. But in 2013, he filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy because he discovered his parents had completely mismanaged his earnings when he was a kid.
Such a sad situation.
It really is. He passed away almost a decade later at just 34 years old. It's a tragic reminder that the people supposed to protect you can sometimes be the ones digging the sinkhole.
It exposes the flaw in how we protect minors in entertainment.
Yeah.
Even with laws requiring a portion of earnings to be set aside, if the parents are controlling the daily operational funds without oversight, the money simply evaporates.
It just disappears.
Yeah. If you refuse to look at the math will eventually come looking for you.
And sometimes the math comes for you simply because the spotlight moves.
That's the scariest part.
Even if you don't buy a castle, and even if your accountant pays your taxes perfectly on time, wealth can just vanish because the income suddenly stops.
This is the career cliff.
Yeah.
It is the most sobering reality of the entertainment industry.
Joey Lawrence is a great example. He had a fantastic, steady run starring in the sitcom Melissa and Joey from 2010 to 2015.
A solid 5-year run.
Right. But when that show was suddenly canceled, his income took such a drastic dip that he filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy by July 2017.
That was fast.
And Necky Pfeiffer, who was in massive pop culture hits like ER and 8 Mile, he filed for bankruptcy in 2014 with $1.3 million in debt, spanning back taxes, legal fees, and back child support.
And we should probably clarify what Chapter 7 actually means here, because there are different types of bankruptcy.
Yeah, break that down for us.
Well, Chapter 11 is a reorganization you negotiate to pay debts over time while keeping your assets. Chapter 7 is the nuclear option.
The nuclear option.
It is liquidation. The court comes in, takes your non-exempt property, sells it, and pays the creditors. Filing for Chapter 7 means the well is completely, totally dry.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. I think society has a fundamentally flawed perception of fame.
How do you mean?
We view a famous actor as having a salaried, tenured corporate job. But they don't. Fame is gig work.
Oh, that's incredibly true.
It is the ultimate freelance economy. When Joey Lawrence's show gets canceled, it is exactly like a freelance graphic designer losing their biggest corporate client overnight.
Yes.
But the catch is, this Hollywood freelancer has a multi-million-dollar mortgage, a publicist, a manager, an agent, and a security team, all expecting a paycheck next week.
That is the perfect analogy. The fundamental math problem inherent in the Hollywood lifestyle is the violent conflict between fixed infrastructure and fluid revenue.
The infrastructure is rigid.
Incredibly rigid. But their income relies entirely on the next movie getting greenlit or the network renewing their contract.
And when the network executives pull the plug on the show, your mortgage company doesn't magically cancel your monthly payment out of sympathy.
Right. The cash flow dries up immediately, but the cash burn remains at peak levels. And because they are locked into illiquid assets like massive estates, they can't just downsize by Friday.
You can't just sell a mansion in 2 days.
Exactly. So they start borrowing against future hypothetical earnings to float their current lifestyle.
Yeah.
That is how the death spiral of debt begins.
And it isn't always a network decision that stops the cash flow. Sometimes it's reputation damage.
Oh, absolutely.
Larry King faced a grand larceny charge in 1971 over a $5,000 dispute with a former business partner.
Just $5,000.
Just $5,000. The charges were dropped, but it completely derailed his career. He faced severe unemployment, $350,000 in debt, and a 1978 bankruptcy. The industry just deemed him too risky.
Your earning power can go to zero overnight based purely on public perception.
Or uncontrollable variables. Toni Braxton filed for bankruptcy twice. Yeah, partly due to her lush lifestyle, sure, but also due to severe health issues that physically stopped her from touring and working. The court even mandated she take a financial management course.
It's a huge blow.
And this one still blows my mind. Meatloaf. He drops Bat Out of Hell in 1977.
A classic.
It becomes one of the best-selling albums in human history. Yet by 1983, he goes bankrupt. He loses his house, and the bankruptcy court actually stripped him of the publishing rights to his own songs.
Which is devastating. People often think of songs as abstract art, but to a bankruptcy court, a publishing catalog is just a liquidable asset.
It's just lines on a spreadsheet.
Exactly. If you owe creditors, the court will absolutely seize your intellectual property and auction it off to make them whole.
But the story doesn't end at rock bottom. This isn't just a catalog of tragedies. The most inspiring part of all this is the pivot.
Yes, the comeback.
The creative, resilient ways these 18 celebrities survived and rebuilt their lives after losing it all.
Necessity truly is the mother of invention.
Willie Nelson might have the most famous pivot of all time. To pay off that $16.7 million IRS debt, he didn't just quietly sell his houses. He explicitly released an album literally titled The IRS Tapes, Who'll Buy My Memories?
I love that story.
Right. The entire project was designed to funnel revenue directly to the government. He basically monetized his own financial ruin.
It's brilliant. He leveraged the parasocial relationship with his fans to bail himself out while giving them a great piece of art in return.
And you see a modern version of that today. So many of these celebrities realized the danger of waiting for a network to cast them, so they took control of their own media.
They became their own bosses.
Exactly. They pivoted to podcasting. Mike Tyson launched Hotboxin. Stephen Baldwin hosts One Bad Movie. Joey Lawrence does the Brotherly Love podcast. Tori Spelling is actually hosting 2 Misspelling and 90210 MG.
They bypassed the traditional gatekeepers entirely. By owning their distribution, they created a new, more stable baseline of revenue that doesn't rely on a fickle casting director.
And many are experiencing massive acting resurgences, too.
Oh, definitely.
Lindsay Lohan is rebuilding her wealth with recent and upcoming roles in Freakier Friday, Our Little Secret, and Irish Wish. Nicolas Cage never really stopped grinding. He's been doing great work in Longlegs, Renfield, and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
He's always working.
Always. Pamela Anderson, Terry Polo, and Mackie Pfeiffer are all consistently working again. Cyndi Lauper even scored a massive Vegas residency starting in April 2026.
They returned to their core competencies, but I guarantee you they returned with a completely different mindset regarding how their compensation is managed and protected.
Mindset is absolutely everything here, and I don't think anyone articulates the mindset shift better than T-Pain.
Oh, his story is incredible.
He lost his $40 million wealth to the point where he literally had to borrow money just to buy his kids Burger King.
$40 million to borrowing for fast food.
Yeah. But today, he is the CEO of his own record label, Nappy Boy Entertainment. He said he went from mega rich to super broke and then got rich again, and it taught him, quote, how to really give a shot about money.
It is a profoundly harsh education, but it's highly effective.
I just want to zero in on that Burger King anecdote for a second. Because out of everything we've talked about, the dinosaur skulls, the castles, the millions in tax evasion, that detail is the most profoundly humanizing thing.
It strips it all away.
It does. That moment of pure, terrifying parental panic. Standing at a fast food counter and realizing you don't have $5 to feed your kids, it completely strips away the celebrity facade. He wasn't a Grammy-winning artist in that moment. He was just a terrified father.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, hitting rock bottom like that forces a complete identity reset.
An identity reset. I like that.
Well, when things are going well, these individuals view themselves purely as talent. The art is everything, the business is an afterthought. But going broke, feeling that genuine panic, it burns away the ego.
It has to.
It forces a brutal transformation from passive artist into active entrepreneur. T-Pain isn't just a singer anymore, he's a CEO. They learn to run their lives like a corporation because they realize nobody else is going to save them.
And sometimes losing everything is the only way to find actual peace.
That's true for MC Hammer.
Exactly. MC Hammer went from a $10 million debt in 1996 to becoming a highly successful tech investor in Silicon Valley, getting involved early with companies like Square and X.
Which is a massive pivot.
Right. And when he was asked if he would change his past mistakes, he said, absolutely not. He pointed to the butterfly effect. He said if he hadn't lost the money, he wouldn't have the kids he has now, the relationships he has now, or the peace he has now.
He recognized that the financial ruin was actually the necessary catalyst for the life he truly wanted. It pulled him away from the destructive glare of peak fame and forced him to build something sustainable.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now?
Good question.
The reality is you are probably not going to accidentally buy a rare dinosaur skull anytime soon.
Probably not.
And you probably won't need to release an acoustic guitar album to appease the IRS, but the core lessons here are universally applicable.
You really are.
Understanding how your actual cash flow works, actively managing your finances instead of blindly trusting others, and building resilience in a gig-driven economy. These are survival skills for all of us, because whether you are managing $100 or $100 million, the math works exactly the same way. The only thing that changes is the number of zeros.
It does. And looking at the ultimate peace found by MC Hammer and the incredibly grounded business savvy of T-Pain post-bankruptcy, it raises an important question.
What's that?
Is it possible that massive early financial success isn't actually the ultimate goal we've been taught? It is. What if having it all too early, before you have the wisdom or the infrastructure to manage it, is actually a barrier to personal growth?
Yeah.
And what if losing it all is sometimes the only way to figure out who you really are?
That is a phenomenal thought to end on, because maybe the real wealth isn't the mountaintop you climb, it's the strength you build when you have to climb back up from the cliff you fell off. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We will see you next time.